if all of your peers and people of your community, black people, all at the bottom, how can anybody help anybody else? Because you being selfish. Once again, it comes back to you. Our culture, we have to stop this I'm going to say it. I'll just call it sugar honey iced tea. This sugar honey iced tea. Okay? It's not about you. When it's about you, that means you don't need nobody else. Nobody on this planet doesn't need anybody else. So when you walk into a place, you come there to represent you, to make it better and make it better for other people. Good morning and welcome to the Get Established Show. Today's topic is, are we accountable for each other? Can we teach one to reach one? Will you or will I be my brother's keeper? Today we're going to have a discussion today about that, especially in the black community. Like I said before, we are your internet uncles. We're here to bring the truth and bring the noise. So be ready as we get the show started. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the Get Established Show, where we talk about a range and realm of topics that are affecting the black community. All right, I'm here with my brothers in arms. First, the man on the boards, hitting the sounds that make you all pound. That's my man, Big. What it is, my brother.
What it is. Good morning.
All right. And one of the hosts that brings the most, my man, D Jones. What it is, my bro.
Good risings, people. Good risings.
All right. And the man with the plan today, let him spray. That's my man, Chiller. What it is, my bro.
Grand risings.
All right. And it's me, Shine, coming through. All right. Without further ado, let's make it happen, Captain.
All right, great. Today's show, we're going to talk about something really interesting. Are we accountable for each other? Teach one, reach one. It takes a community to raise a child, and it takes a community to make sure that we take care of each other. I'm getting ready to turn this over to Mr. Chiller so we can get this show started. Let's go.
Yeah, this is going to be a good topic. Basically, sum things up. I'm just gonna speak on my half before I ask the questions. It has been times that I've seen around in my neighborhood, or I go to a corner and I see some activities that's going on that I would just sit back silent and wouldn't say. And it's been times that I have intervened if I knew the young fella or familiar with his family. And it's a time I seen a young cat doing something stupid and he had a gun and I'm like, yo. And he turned around, and just because he knew me, I said, yo, put that back, man. Don't be out here doing something stupid. And he was like, yeah, you right, and put it up. But then if I didn't know that young cat, it could have went a whole different scenario. And it's like I was saying, fear has been a big factor of a lot of us. Even though we want to say something, we feel like if we do, we're going to get a negative reaction. And it makes the community scared to even reach out to our youth or whatever you see. Even if you see somebody close to you or younger than you or a friend's child, we used to go back and tell the parents instead of stopping the situation now. And it's like we became so desensitized to community. It's even elders out here our age watching two young girls fight and pull out their cameras instead of breaking them up and just start recording and let these girls get hurt and one go to jail and start preventing everything. So it's like the questions I want to ask, starting off, do you feel that you your brother's keeper? Because Big Name said even in the show, do you feel you your brother's keeper?
That's a great question, man. I think I used to feel that way. Society has really changed the thought process when dealing with different things. Like you said, once upon a time, you would see somebody getting ready to react to something and you would intervene. You would, hey man, you tripping, let that go, or different things may happen, man. Since I've been older, I've been in different scenarios. I remember being in the mall one time, and these young cats walked by me with their pants hanging down, and it was an elderly lady standing there, and she was offended, and you could just see it. And you could just see she wanted to address them, but she didn't. And I looked at them, and they looked at me like, "What's up?" You know, and it was four of them. And the first thing that came to my mind was, I want to make it home to my wife and kids, man. Real talk. You know, I wanted to address it, but I wanted to be able to walk out of there alive. I'll give you another situation. I was in the barbershop getting ready to get a haircut, man, and there was a few elderly gentlemen in there, and this young cat came in wilding out, cussing, using the B word, using the ML word, using the N word. So I turned to the barber that owned the barbershop, and I was like, yo, you know, what's up with that? He was like, they paying customers. And to me, I was like, at what point do we address some of this stuff? You know, I mean, I stopped getting my hair cut there for that reason, because he allowed money to out trump his morals. And to me, it's something wrong with that, man. There's something wrong with that. So, you know, I want to get back to that, but how do we get back to that? I guess that would be the question for me. How do we get back to being my brother's keeper?
We got to have a understand where we are morally, because even in that situation at the barbershop, you looked at him, but you could have said something too. Somebody else in the shop could have said something. And the thing about it, once one person stand up and say something, it's going to be, typically, if it's on the right side, other people will follow, but somebody got to be the first to say something or do something. That's typically how it works. So, you know, these situations is different because it's so many illegal guns on the street. You got so many fatherless raised men that don't understand how to interact with a man. When they get to a certain age, when boys get to a certain age and they being raised by their mother, they immediately take over as the dominance in the house, unless that mother is something extremely special, where she has been able to assert her parental dominance over him at an early age. Otherwise, he's gonna do what he want to do. That's the problem in the streets right now. And the problem is, it's as simple as this. If more, and I'm gonna say this for all men, I'm not just gonna categorize just black men, even though we do have a problem in the black community, but any man that's out there, just, you may want to beat this out, Raymond, slinging dick to whoever they want, whoever they give it to, without strapping on a condom so they won't have unwanted children. It starts there, because these households without fathers, male energy, or anything is what our biggest downfall is. We got over masculine women and we got extra feminine men, and the men that are masculine can't take criticism or direction from another man because they've never had it, and they take everything as an insult instead of taking it as correction and being able to learn from it. It's never been demonstrated in their life up until that point. And that's another thing why it's so important when mothers don't have the father present. They need to put their boys in extracurricular activities, whether it's martial arts, whether it's some type of local sports team, because at that point, typically it's going to be male leadership, and they will get an example of how to be corrected. Because when you mess up a play or you don't do a move correctly, a man is going to come and correct you and show you what you need to do. It's part of the molding of the mind. But when you got kids out here, and the mama ain't even thinking about that as well, and I understand, don't get me wrong, I understand you got multiple kids, it can be hard. It can be real hard, but it's part of the responsibility of being a parent. And that ball can't be dropped, because this is what we get. What we have now, these situations that we're talking about, this is what we get when we don't put our young boys in front of men that can lead them.
All right. I don't want to just when I make my statement, I don't want to pinpoint on just one factor, because if we pinpoint it on one factor, it's going to continue to be this drilling of one side as that's the wrong, when it's multiple sides, because we can even say about young women how they go around and they may cuss a elder out when someone's trying to correct them. So it's not so much one side, it's both, it's all people. We talk about all kids and even adults, like you said, when that go around and they have this mentality of, oh well, I don't give a damn about nobody else, it's about me and I'm gonna do me, and I'm and who cares, you know what I mean? So, and that may stem from the lack of parenting back in the day for them as well. So yeah, that it is I see this as a topic that goes beyond just kids as well. It goes to adults as well as kids, because everybody has to understand that there is a code, there is a moral code that is there. It's just that because of the fact that society has gone so long without allowing there to be repercussions with family. That's where the problem comes in, because it's like, okay, well, hey, nobody's saying, okay, well, when they were young and you could beat your kids, and I say beat now, or administer discipline, that it's that's when it got lost. It's like, okay, well, you go bring the law in, is the law going to administer discipline, or is the law going to say, okay, well, hey, all right, these kids are going to be they're going to be taken to jail or some kind of detention that they're going to be in as kids or whatever. They're going to go through the whole life through the system and be victims of the system, instead of allowing parents to be the disciplinaries in the child's life. Grow up all their life, okay, well, hey, no discipline, no nothing, so we just do whatever the hell we want. And that's where the problem comes in, the lack of discipline.
Indeed.
Well, this is a good topic, because I understand what Raymond's saying. It's like, you can't just blame it on the kids. You can't just blame it on, the scenario goes back to me, the system. When you took away our rights to discipline our kids, and you allow the kids to feel like, oh, you hit me, I'm gonna call such and such a number, or you can't talk to me. It gave them freedom to do as I please.
Hold on, I got to interrupt, man.
What?
With that point, because I understand we didn't say that, but I'm gonna tell you, I spank my kids.
Okay.
My kids grown now and they functioning adults. People that discipline their children, it ain't gonna be. I'm gonna tell you like this. This is the way I feel. Man, you got some badass kids out here, but as a parent, you better make the rules very clear, because I wish one of my children would have called the police.
But I'm gonna get back on it.
I'm just giving you the
I'm with you. I'm with you, big 100.
I'm sorry,
because I'm bringing you into this. I'm bringing you into this because I have talked to women, and when I don't just on women tip, and I had talked about how, like, me and Dirk, we could use this, or maybe Raymond and all that. I remember acting up in school. My teacher with me. I got home, my grandma with me. My granddaddy came home, he with me. My dad came home at 8 o'clock, he with me. For one bad incident, I got 4 whoopings. Now, that's like the community raising your kids. Now, a lot of persons, I don't want nobody spanking my kids. I don't want nobody whipping my kids. I don't want nobody doing that. But if your kid had acted up in one time and got multiple ass whoopings, it might have made that kid a better kid. Like, hey, if I do something again, I'm gonna get whipped by such and such. I'm gonna get whipped by such and such. I'm gonna get whipped by such and such. A lot of babies was having babies. We didn't have big mamas having babies. We had babies having babies. So they didn't know how to really discipline their kids. A lot of things we was exposed to was Atari and Sega and Nintendo. So a lot of times we didn't have when you got home, other than doing your homework, we was raised by entertainment. We was raised by TV. So a lot of parents didn't sit down and have social, things with their child. It's just like if your dad go to work and your dad work all day, or your dad gets up and work a night shift, or you get home, you might not even see one of your parents through the week, only on the weekends. So it's like some kids, moms just let their kids roam. I remember my grandmama made me come in the house. I had to come in the house. If we heard that 9 o'clock bomb, I better been on that porch. You see what I'm saying? When I was little. But it was some kids I hung with, they rolled the street 9, 10, 11 o'clock, still hanging out there all night long. They didn't have no curfew. I had a curfew. Everybody didn't have a curfew. And because one person might raise a family a certain way, somebody might not have the same understanding or morals that you have. And the funny thing is, I know people right now, and I watch people my age and they got grandkids. Grandkids, wild as hell. Then I watch other people who was real disciplined with their kids like you big. Yes, man. Yes. And sit in that room. Don't come out that room. Don't and sit right. They do just like they say. But and I watch people, God dang it, boy, sit down. The boy jump up again. God dang, they fussing at the kids all day like they getting ready to have a stroke because they can't. They never knew how to discipline their kids. And I mean, we saying this, but each one of y'all know somebody like that watching a child, got a friend or somebody y'all done seen that cannot control their child.
Well, when you talk about discipline, we talking about something totally different. It's a couple of things you said I want to address. So I'm gonna start with discipline. Technology has changed the game, man. And I'm starting there because if you look at it, especially with these young boys, they can't handle different things. Like different things come their way, they break down mentally, man. And they go into depression. They don't know how to interact with their peers. Conflict. They don't do well with that. And I'm seeing that with a lot of young cats, man. It's interesting because, like you said, certain people raise their kids certain ways. And I remember when my daughter was in high school, and I just raised my kids to be able to communicate, articulate what you want to say, even when the situation arises where you're in an argument with someone. And it was this one particular situation with this girl. And the girl kept spreading rumors about her, and so she confronted the girl, and the girl wanted to fight. And I remember teacher reaching out, talking about how proud she was of how she handled the situation. Said to her, she said, "Is that the only way you know how to articulate your thoughts, by wanting to fight?" And it shut the whole thing down because the other girl was confused, like, what is she talking about? I came over here to fight her, and she gonna ask me that question. Everybody just kind of, ooh, you know how kids do. And it wasn't that I was trying to embarrass her. She was just letting her know, I ain't about that. I ain't trying to fight. And it's just like same thing with my son. A young kid wanted to fight him over something in school, and he said to him, he said, "You tripping? It ain't even that serious," and walked off. So, and I say that to say that it depends on what you instill in your kids. And a lot of people are letting cell phones, video games, TV, social media raise their children. And that's becoming a problem. And kids don't know how to deal with conflict. So that's one issue. The other issue is, you said no matter how long your parents work, certain things take place in the household. Well, I remember our dad used to work crazy hours. But one thing, when it was time to eat, we all sat down to eat together. No matter what time, it could have been 10 o'clock at night. If he got food or if he cooked, we didn't get our food and go to our room. We didn't get our food, sit down and be on the phone. We sat down, ate together, and had conversations. These kids are not doing that, man. These parents don't, that's not happening in these households. Most of the time, you see kids coming to the table with their cell phone, or they getting their food, going back to their room, getting back on their game. They're not sitting down. We're not having these important conversations with our kids. So it's not just about discipline. It's about being able to communicate with your child. A lot of times I hear parents say, I don't know what's going on with them. Well, of course you don't know what's going on with them. You don't have that time that you sit down and have certain discussions with your child. So how are you going to know? It's almost like living with a stranger. You know, you see them in the household. They're on the video game 8 hours a day. When they get out here in these streets, you don't know what's going on. And then the first time the teacher calls and say your child did this, you want to be combative with the teacher and be like, my child didn't do that. That didn't happen. This didn't take place, because you don't know who your child is. So we have to get back to the basics in the household. There has to be a certain amount of family time in order for you to be able to communicate, get things over to your child, talk to them about how to deal with certain things that may come their way. And yeah, they need discipline. They definitely need discipline. Like you said, when we were kids, it wasn't just the one parent. You got disciplined by everybody. So you already knew what was coming your way when you got home. And you didn't want that to happen again. So you made sure that you acted a certain way out in public. There was never a time that we would go out and an older gentleman would talk to us and we would be like cussing them out, man, you tripping, talking to them crazy. It wouldn't happen. Even though we felt like we could physically take this man out, you just had a certain level of respect. And it's the same thing with women. You wouldn't talk to older women crazy. You just wouldn't. As a matter of fact, you wouldn't talk to women your age crazy. There's certain things that you wouldn't say. It wouldn't even feel right coming out your mouth. So I say all that to say that it starts in the household. It starts with just getting back to the basics. Just little things like eating together, having certain conversations, talking to your kids before they lay down and go to sleep, having conversations before they leave the house in the morning. These are important, man.
Yeah, that's I look at all of that as part of discipline. I mean, because that's a structure. Discipline, a structure creates discipline on how you move, how you operate. It's the construct in which in the way that the way that you perform, and that's the breakdown. It's just it's like a bunch of houses, like the OK Corral, where everybody just make their own rules, and that's a problem. You gotta, it's, I don't know. I know when I came up, I guess I took on old school values, as some people would call it, but it was required for certain things were just basically understood and established very early. And see, what happens is people start trying to raise their kids too late. Excuse me. You got to raise that child while they in the womb. You got to be talking to them and speaking to them, and that's why when they come out and they hear your voice, they know who you are. But the programming starts as soon as they're in there, and it's a huge responsibility raising children. I don't think people taking it as serious as it is. They are the next generation of leaders and people and citizens, and they are the structure of the country that we live in, and the city that we live in, the town that we live in. That's who we're raising. And if we miss that point, we miss it all, because we got to stay aware. Awareness is a huge fact of what's going on with our children. I didn't just, I said I spanked my children, but that wasn't all the discipline. There was a lot of conversations too, and there was a lot of things that they knew that they were supposed to do, and it was only the extreme situations where they got spankings. There was my son, he was a little extra hyper, a little extra busy. And, I gave him the same conversations that my mama gave me. And I think people not having these conversations with their children about, don't have your teacher calling me, telling me you acting up in school. Because when you go do that makes me look bad, like I'm not doing my job as a parent. I know I'm in here raising you right. Don't do that. So my mama told me that. I was scared. She feared. I was scared when she told me that. Told me she'll come up there and whoop me in front of the class. I believed her, you know.
Believed I had that happen.
Hey, my son had that happen. I didn't beat him in front of the class, but when I came to the school, he did get a spanking, and the teachers were grateful that I came in and do it, because you just don't see enough. I mean, my situation may have been a little different. I had a job where I was the boss, and I only worked about 3 minutes from the school. So, you know, I just drove up. Hey, I'm in the building. I'm here. Where he at? You know, so it's only twice. Whole time he was in school 13 years, only twice. You know, as he got into that was elementary school when that happened. Happened twice in elementary school, ain't happened no more. You know, no more problems after that. Nothing. But with children that are hyper, people just want to medicate them. It takes extra special attention from a parent to understand the parameters of their child and get them in line. You have to come up with some creative incentives and ideas to get your child in line. It's not all about what the doctor say he need this, put him on this medication. That is not always the answer, because they would have put him on medication. If I wasn't around, and if I wasn't active, and I didn't make him understand that this is the way we're gonna live life, then he would have been a very, very wild person. He would be wild right now. He ain't like that. I just got a phone with him this morning. We was talking. He called. I don't know why he was up this early, but he called me before the show. I was like, look, we about to get started, so I got to go. But you know, he'll be 27 years old now. Never had no problems. But we got all of that stuff taken care of early, and that's the whole thing, man. It's a constant. You can get tired, but you can't perform weak when you're raising a family. You cannot perform weak. If you tired, and you know, ladies, I know y'all a little extra emotional. If you need to go cry, go cry. I mean, it's okay for you, you know, to show your emotion, but sometimes y'all don't understand. You have to be strong, especially when you don't have no man around. You have to be strong. You have to be firm, and it may hurt you. But if it hurts you, go to your room and cry. Discipline these children.
Question. I'm gonna let Raymond speak though, because y'all kind of into the second question, but I want Raymond to speak. I mean, I'm just gonna say it anyway. The second question, because I think y'all did touch on the second, is as a father or a black man, do you feel responsible for the youth around you? I think we have touched on it, but Raymond, go ahead.
I was gonna jump into another section where it's we're talking about the person who's grown and you know, may be making the wrong decisions out here. You know, I look at it like this, especially in the workplace. If you have, you know, someone that you know, that you've gained some type of rapport with, and you're able to talk to, all right, you as and either a older person or someone that has a degree of responsibility in your mind, would be that person to pour into that other person, whether they're young or old, to be able to say, look, you know, I remember when this happened when I was young, or, you know, you could do that, but you need to think about the repercussions of that happening. I just want to get there, going get at this person, or I want to express my dislike for whatever the situation that you might be in. Like, especially with at work, you know, your employer might told you to do something that you don't want to do. You like, man, F that, man. I ain't trying to do that mess, man. I'll dip and go about my way. Okay, so now you're saying, all right, I'm going to let a job go, or a career goal because the boss might have said something that I didn't appreciate, or something that was, that I felt it was demeaning to me. You have to look at the context of how that was said or what was said. You know what I mean? Because if it was, if it was under the lines of something that was probably, that you felt like it might have been something that was racially motivated, then you take that up with HR. Going, hey, look, I'm gonna go to HR and say, look, this is what happened, blah blah blah. Then you can get that matter looked at. But if to just say, all right, well, I'm just gonna be like the hell with it and going about my way, that's not solving the problem. That's just leaving the problem for another person to have to deal with instead of tackling the problem yourself. So that's what I'm bringing to this right now, just to say, okay, well, hey, as an adult, it's a responsibility to be able to give somebody some advice and information to steer them in a better direction, instead of just looking at them and allowing them to just go on about their way and make a decision that may not be the best one for them at that time.
I mean, something like that that goes into understanding what your responsibilities are, because this is what we got to realize. All of those things, even when those situations happen, those things will happen at any job, but you have to understand what your responsibilities are. See, one of the biggest problems in our community is that we always think about us. We need to start thinking about the impact. If I do this, who else around me is affected? Because there was times where I should have punched a bunch of people in their face, but in my mind, that only hurts me. It hurts me, because then I get a record, because that's gonna be assault. It hurts my family, because they're gonna lose income from me, and then I may get removed from the household because I let my emotions get out of hand. I let somebody else control me for that moment. I forgot what my purpose was, what my focus was, and who was counting on me. And it goes back to your raising, your upbringing, and that's why certain conversations with your children are important about what happened in the workplace, how you deal with this in the workplace, how you deal with this in these certain places. I mean, this is the thing. The beautiful thing about being a human is that we have the power of our mind. We have the greatest control of our mind. You can do anything. I did all of that stuff in my mind in step one. I just didn't do step two, because I knew the outcome of step two was going to be bad for me. It was going to be bad for my family. But it sure felt good in step one in my mind. And then I could walk off. You know what I'm saying? I did what I did in my mind. I listened to them or whatever they said, all that, certain levels of disrespect. I played it in my mind, and then I walked off.
Sometimes, I mean, like I said, it's in the scenario Raymond talking about. I mean, I respect Big on everything he said, because it's times I might have said something, and I did. I remember in the shit yard going off, and they demoted me out of my department and put me in another department. Sometimes standing up, it's like when you don't own your business and you working for somebody, if you don't like the way the environment is, and if it's stressful, out. Get you somewhere that's comfortable. Find something else. Work there till you can move on. Sometimes you ain't gonna change the perception of the boss. If the boss racist, if the boss male chauvinist, or the boss, whatever you want to call what that boss is. It's like you say, you have a choice to live somewhere. You have a choice. Some people work to get out the ghetto. You have a choice to get out of that situation. I mean, and if it ain't healthy for you, stay there, pay your bills, and look for something else. There's some people take the creases in their job to have a job that they happy with. They be like, look, I got a peace of mind. I'm still paying my bills. I might not be where I wanted to be, but I'm happy where I'm at right now. And your happiness is the best thing. You can't change the perception of everybody you deal with. You ain't gonna never change everybody's perception. I mean, we're gonna always have issues with one another. The problem is we gotta learn, like this whole conversation is like, and we accountable. And we don't, that's mean people who work with you, that means family members, that means friends, that means knuckleheads you seen back in the day. Cause some knuckleheads go to jail and they tired of going to jail. They be like, you know what, man? I'm glad I watched you, man, and you worked your whole life. You stayed out of trouble, man. I'm following your trail. And I mean, because you could be a role model. You could be like, yeah, big, you know, I see how you helping the youth, man. I did some wrong things. I want to come back and now I want to coach a team. You know what I'm saying? What we do in life, we can be a reflection of somebody in the long run. It might not be right then, and it might not even make sense why you're doing it. But somebody small, younger, or messed up now looking at you can change their whole life because of you.
True.
And that's true, man. And I want to address the workplace since we're talking about that, man. Hey, what Big said is real, but I've learned, because I've been working around my people for so long, and the majority of women, I usually set that standard from day one. It's just certain things that I will put in place day one, and that line wouldn't be crossed. I give you an example. I remember I got hired at this facility that was all white. I was the only black person there. And I remember when I first came in, you know, I felt like everybody was racist. They were coming at me kind of crazy, this and that. And I remember just laying that groundwork, just what I was going to accept, what I wasn't going to accept. And what I learned from that situation is it wasn't that they didn't like me or they were racist. They didn't understand me. So the communication piece came in, and I was able to let them know where I was coming from, what I stood for, what type of person I was. And we bridged that gap. And that was with another community. But even in my own community, we all don't communicate the same. We all don't think the same. We all don't carry our life on the same. So it's just about that communication piece. And people learn very quickly what they can get away with and what they can't get away with when dealing with you. So when dealing with me, the conversation is going to be totally different. Like you might say, "What's up, my nigga," to somebody else, but dealing with me, you're not going to communicate with me that way. Or you might use curse words when you're talking to somebody else, but dealing with me, I'm not going to allow that. And the tone you give, the tone that come across when we have conversations, it's just going to be a certain tone. And I set that standard from day one. So a lot of those situations I never had to deal with raising the voice, saying something stupid, saying something out of line, having certain conversations. They just wouldn't come my way because I would lay that groundwork from day one.
That's cool, but they don't always happen. Sometimes it ain't you. You can have all of that in place. You can have the respect of the people. You can have all of that, but you still got certain people that certain ways. And that's their issue, not your issue. You know what I'm saying? But one thing that we have to understand too as people, and this is a message that I want to get out to the up and coming workforce. Work is not the street. It ain't the club. It ain't the hangout. It's work. You don't talk the same at work as you do when you're hanging out with your friends, even though you're going to have friends at work. Those conversations are outside of work. Those are not inside work conversations. When you're not supposed to come to work to relax. You're at work to work. So when you come to work, put your work hat on and remember that you're there to make the most out of your time. I tell anybody this, and one thing that infuriates me, and I hear this from Black people, and I know other people say it too, but I hear it from Black people a lot. Somebody comes to them and management approaches them about being a supervisor or a manager. And the first thing they do, they talk about is they want to raise, and I wish I could do this for my kids and this and that. They come and approach them about a supervisor or a management position, and first thing they say, well, I don't want to be responsible for nobody else. Well, why are you there? Are you there to minimize your time, or are you there to maximize your time? Because when I worked in those environments, I was there to turn my time into the largest amount of dollars that was available to me. I was not there to be at the bottom of the totem pole. I was not there to be answering to everybody. I was there to be an integral part of the process, and to find a way to be somewhere where I can help somebody else. Because if all of your peers and people of your community, black people, all at the bottom, how can anybody help anybody else? Because you being selfish. Once again, it comes back to you. Our culture, we have to stop this I'm going to say it. I'll just call it sugar honey iced tea. This sugar honey iced tea. Okay? It's not about you. When it's about you, that means you don't need nobody else. Nobody on this planet doesn't need anybody else. So when you walk into a place, you come there to represent you, to make it better and make it better for other people. When you are at work, hear me and hear me loud and clear. When you go to work, the 8 hours that you are giving these people, you are there to convert those hours into the most amount of money that you can get while you're there. You are not there to stay at the bottom. You are there to get to the top, because who does it help? The people at the bottom that may need your input, your family at home, the people around you. It could be somebody in your neighborhood, your church, or another organization you're part of that need a job. If you're in a position, then you can say, hey, look, I watched this guy. Let's give him a chance. You can't do that at the bottom. So understand it's time to step up and take you out of the equation and look at the people around you. You become more successful when you start thinking about, how does my life impact around me, and not how does it just impact me.
I mean, because we kind of like touching a bunch of different subjects, but it's still on the same matter. This one was basically, we have talked probably on, but it's like, is the violence in your neighborhood a lack of older people in the community not reaching out to the youth?
The violence in my neighborhood are like older people reaching out to the community, not the youth. That's hard to say, because a lot of the violence that's happening, those individuals aren't from, quote unquote, that area. So if, like, I have a lot of break-ins, home invasions in my community, there may be a situation where my community was targeted by another community outside of my community. So that's really kind of hard to say. What I will say is, it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed. And what happened to community forums, communities coming together? I know, like, here in Georgia, we had this thing called neighborhood, and everybody communicates via email. They might say, it's a strange car in my neighborhood, look out for this purple Impala riding through the neighborhood, or it might be some youth are walking through, and they don't look like they're from this area. What happened to everybody coming together physically and having conversations and putting things in place to deal with certain things that are taking place in the neighborhood, instead of communicating by email? That email might be sent at 8 o'clock in the morning. I might not see it till 10 o'clock at night. So, I mean, once upon a time, it wasn't, I'm not going to say it was organized, but neighbors would come out and talk about certain things. They would meet on the sidewalk, in the backyard. I lived in a community, I just sold a house this year, where I only knew one neighbor, and that was the guy across the street. Like, the woman to the right of me, she wouldn't even speak. The young people to the left of me, they stayed in, they smoked their weed, they did their thing, but I didn't know who they were. So it's almost like you have this division in the Black community now, where, I'm gonna stay over here, I'm gonna do my thing. I don't want you in my business. I'm gonna stay over here and do my thing. I don't need you to know what's going on with me. And when things happen, like, my house got broken into. So I had to have conversations with my neighbors at that point. And you could just tell, like, I got the lady next to me that doesn't want to speak. She doesn't work. She's at home all day. The young people that's on the other side of me, one of the girls, she works at night, so she sleeps during the day. Literally, I had somebody drive in my backyard with a car, kick in my back door, came in, ransacked the house, and nobody knew what was going on. And I was like, that's crazy, because I can't, in my mind, in the neighborhood I grew up in, that could have never happened. Somebody would have saw something, heard something. It would have been something going on and something to be reported back. So
oh, go ahead. My bad.
I just think the dynamics of the neighborhood have changed. I think the crime that's taking place in some of these communities are not people within the community committing these crimes. So, you at a loss. How do you address the youth in the neighborhood if they're not the ones committing these crimes in that neighborhood? Go ahead, Raymond. What were you going to say?
No, I was gonna piggyback off what you said because growing up in Mount Hermon, I can say this. There was a neighborhood association, and you have people that decided, okay, well, we're gonna have like a neighborhood patrol around, to be able to look
Neighborhood
for
watch, basically.
anything, yeah, for anybody, doing something, whatever. But that's the thing that. But what you said is exactly what we lost. We lost the ability to want to communicate with one another on that level where hey, I could go to my neighbor and say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? You know what I mean? Because even with just saying hi or whatever, that breaks down that wall of, okay, well, all right, well, I'm just going about my way doing my thing, whatever, blah blah blah. It's you are establishing some form of rapport with this person so that that person may feel like, all right, well, I can come to this person and talk to them and say, at least say, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. This is going on with me. Da, 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 da. Hey, I might be gone for the weekend. Could you just kind of look at my house? You know what I'm saying? Make sure there's nothing going on. So if something does happen, just let me know or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Here's my number, whatever, something like that. Or just make sure that, just kind of, go past, look past it on your way coming and going or whatever. It's just having that form of one-on-one interaction with people. I can say one of the instances, I was at my mom's house, and it's some new guys that live in a house that like an old lady used to stay in, and I mean they they kind of a young bunch, but I didn't talk to them at any point until like recently when like when I seen one of the kids dart out in the street. And I was like, watch, hey, watch your child, whatever. And they was like, oh man, yeah, thanks, man, appreciate that, man. Because they were about whatever doing their own thing. So and then I just kind of talked to him for a little bit, and we got we got a little dialogue going. So that's established that with them. But in my own place, because I've been here a minute, I've been able to communicate with a few people here, and I mean, we all right. It's no issue. But anytime something go on, if I'm coming and going about my way, because I'm like I'm in and out, and I'm going about my way, and then they might stop and say, hey, yo, you seen this such, you heard this last night? Like, nah, because I'm not even here all the time. But it's like, yeah, but this is what's going on. So it's just being willing to communicate with people and not putting up those walls. You can have your own little personal space where, hey, no, don't nobody know your business. But when you out and about, when you walk out that door, if someone engages you, it's there's nothing for you to say, hello, how you doing, or hey, I'm my name is da da da, and just go about your way. You know, it's nothing to doing that.
I think maybe we haven't been taught that. Somewhere along the way, the sense of community is falling off. But we always, I don't care what you're doing, we always stronger together. Always. Always. I mean, we were having, I mean, I didn't even know. I know a lot of my neighbors, even though we've had, you know, people move in and move out. But I know a lot of them because I go to the association meetings. And I speak up when it comes to certain things. So, and then I have a large presence anyway. But it's about being active. It's about being open. And like you say, Raymond, it's not about not being able to have your own privacy. You can maintain your privacy. But there was a lot of things happening in this area that I was finding out at the association meeting. I wasn't hearing anything necessarily directly from my neighbors. There were different times there used to be people that would come to the neighborhood and pull on car doors to see if the door was unlocked so they could go, ransack the car and get change or find money or whatever valuable was in your car. But, and then there's been some other incidents, with the youngers, where things get out of hand with that. But, you see so much, a lot of what I have, some stuff I've demonstrated firsthand where it didn't matter what I did, it was going to happen anyway. It was already happening really, but it's come from just being hot-headed, emotional, not thinking through the process. And I don't know. I know there are some people out there. I know right now there's a lot of people that's out of work, out of money, because of the time that we're in. And of course, when those things happen, typically the crime rate can go, but it don't have to, especially if we were to look out for one another, because we always stronger together. So as a person, if you knew your neighbor and you knew them, they were hungry, it wouldn't take but a couple of neighbors to, when they go to the grocery store, pick up some extra stuff and take something to them. You know what I'm saying? But without knowing your neighbor and without knowing the situation, you won't know that. So we have to reform community. This is a good conversation because that also is a part of child rearing and the village mentality, because if kids know that you know their parents, they're going to be less apt to act up if they know that it can get back to their parents. If their parents are parenting, because you got some parents that's just not, and that's another whole conversation. But the lack of responsibility is what I think has crime rates increase in certain areas, because we got this no snitch stuff going on in our community, which that never helps a community if things happen and people don't tell. I remember, I don't know. No, you weren't living with us yet, Raymond, but back in the day when it was a home invasion, when I had two roommates, and I just happened to be at work, and I worked late, and it was a home invasion around Christmas time one year, where they came in and stole some things and, kind of held them at gunpoint, and nobody saw nothing. Nobody saw nothing. Nobody heard nothing.
My car got busted into when I was living out there, and I cussed the whole neighborhood outside. I was like, y'all mother, ain't nobody seen. I was like, God, I was hot. God dang it.
I'm with Raymond on that. Somebody shot my car. Now, if I was outside, I don't care, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning doing something, every old blind is open watching me. Every old person watching me. But this particular time, somebody come shoot the call, pow, 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 pow. Ain't nobody see nothing. But you could tell when I came in 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4. You know everything. The old people all know it. They up all night knowing everything, but they don't see when something happened to you, you ask a question. I ain't seen that. You really didn't see nothing, but you can tell me what time I came in, creeping and everything, and who I had, all this crazy stuff. But you mean to tell me you couldn't see that? With all that, and I'm stepping like a mouse, quiet as a bug. You know, ain't no car, turn the car creeping down the street, headlights off everything. You can say all that.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing right there. See, when you really ain't doing nothing, you know, everybody like, you know, like this. But when somebody doing something, actually, you see it, you hear, pow, glass breaking. Oh, close the blind. Let me go on about my way. I'm trying to get caught up in that, man. You know what I mean? That's the thing, man. People all caught. They caught up in what they're doing, but when there's something going on, they don't want to step up. You know,
that's when you need them to step up. That's when you need the strength of community when something happens, because what that does, that is a invisible safeguard. Because people realize, well, don't go over there, boy, because you go over there, you going to jail.
Yeah.
See, that's the impact. That's
that no snitching thing that you talk about.
This is the crazy thing. This is the thing about no snitching. And I try to tell these cats, I said, if I'm out here selling crack with you and doing something, and I get tore off, and I tell them, y'all, I'm snitching. But if I'm a victim and I go and report something, how the hell am I snitching? I'm not a part of y'all. I'm talking about what happened to me. I'm a victim. I'm not even associated. I don't F with y'all at all. How am I snitching? Because somebody did something to me.
It's rules to the game.
To me, that logically don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. So it's people who get shot and they had nothing to do with the dude, and the police come in there asking them questions before they die. They don't want to talk because they don't want to snitch. Man, you must have lost your mind. I ain't out here with you, dude. I don't know you like that. If that's Dottie's son, Ray, I'm gonna say who it is. You know what I'm saying? That's who the hell did it.
I mean, yeah, because you want, I mean, because everybody want justice. Everybody want, you know what I'm saying, to the perpetrator to meet some form of you know, justice for something they did. So yeah, I mean, because you did something wrong, it wasn't like, okay, well, hey, you know, like you said, y'all running together doing this, and you know, okay, then you ain't trying to tell nobody, because it's like you one of the perpetrators too. So that's, if you doing wrong, you ain't gonna tell. But if you the one who innocent bystander, and you seeing something happening and somebody else is dealing with something that affected them, why not say nothing? You don't have to gonna give your name. You don't have to tell nothing. You could just be like, look, hey, I just want to do the right thing. I just want to make sure that somebody is being recompensed for whatever wrong that's been done to them, because that's just a natural thing to do for somebody that's been wrong. Because if it happened to you, you're gonna be like, oh, I can't believe it. Ain't nobody. You're gonna feel that same damn way. So why not be willing, if you know, to speak?
That's protecting the community. And
exactly. I mean, but that's what we talking about is one of the problems in our community, and that's a lot where people turning their back on the community, and that's a lot why we're letting menaces in the community, we letting violence in the community, we letting stuff get away. And the crazy thing about it, people got information on a woman crying whose child has died, and the other woman ain't saying nothing. Then their child died, then they want everybody to speak up and talk for them. But you had an opportunity to speak up for the lady 2-3 houses down when you know your son was running around with a little riff-raff. Now somebody got your son and everybody doing the same thing that you did to that lady. It's crazy. It's a mental illness to me. All of us mental illness. Because I've realized this. We can't get back our community if we keep shutting our mouth and letting people. I wouldn't care if you want to reform the Black Panthers to clean up the neighborhood. You don't got to deal with the police, but get somebody who ain't scared.
But
That's
you know
what I'm
who
saying.
really, you know
They're
who,
not doing nothing positive for us. They're not role model. I mean, you got to realize when your expectation of life is just 18 to 25, what good are you? You won't have no plans of doing nothing. Your plans ain't having a kid, getting a business, doing something, leaving a legacy back for your child. Because once you dead, you just a memory. Ain't nobody every year, bro. Oh, you ain't gonna be Tupac. You ain't gonna be celebrated like Biggie. You ain't gonna be celebrated like that. You just a nobody. You gone.
But
Just a dead old memory.
Big said something
Let's
that
go
would
ahead, Big.
help the kids. I mean, no, I'm saying he said this earlier. He like, get them involved in activities because there are activities that are, if we're talking about kids, there are activities that kids can get into that are there, but it's the responsibility of parents to get involved in pushing those activities to the kids. Giving them a reason to get all this youthful energy out into something constructive. You know what I mean? Instead of just all out, whatever, we're out in the street just doing whatever. Just do something to get them involved in something. And then that will help curb the daggone negativity. Now, I ain't say it's going to curb all of it because regardless of what you do, if somebody don't want to do right, they ain't going to do right. But if you can get in their mind to say, well, dang, all right, if I could do this might not be the best way, then at least that's something that they'll think in their head and say, hey, it might not solve that very moment, but maybe down the line it could solve that and change that person's mindset. It ain't always about the short game, it's the long game too.
right? It's options. It's options, and then also when you learn how to be a part of a team, you understand what your position is and how to play your position. Um, it's vital in if you're gonna be in the corporate world, or if you're gonna work, or even if you're gonna run a business. It don't matter. Everybody got a position to play. They got a role to play. They got a place to play, and there's a common goal. There's always a common goal. Typically with any team, you're gonna have some team captains, but you're gonna have people playing their position. And if you can't learn that early, then you lose pieces when it becomes most vital. You can't move forward. You can't grow in the space to be able to do that. It can't be that it's just it can be the community and who's around you, but it's also got to be the amount of effort and the amount of exposure. Because that's why I mentioned earlier about the sports and things like that. But there's other things other than sports. There's science things. There's artistry things like Raymond do, like art and drawing, and there's dance. There is a ton of things. You need to expose your kids to options, because what happens in our community, we on at certain points we don't get exposed to things. We get in the workplace, people talking about all these things, and we feel out of place. We feel out of place, which is another level of feeling inferior. Okay, because you haven't been exposed to all these things. There's people that's done they've done dance, they've done sports, they've done science, they've done piano, they've done music, they've done painting, drawing, they've done archery, they've done fencing, all of these things that's been done. By the time they get into the workplace, they play golf. There's things that we can do in our community. And I always say I'm a big fan of baseball. Like, baseball is my favorite sport. Okay. I love teaching it. I love playing it. I don't like getting hit by the ball though, because it hurts. But also I like playing golf. I don't get to play as much. And I played tennis. Tennis is a favorite of mine now. My daughter played tennis in high school, and I've been out there and played, tennis with her. And we have a good time, man. It's fun. It's a fun sport. But There's
Hold up, man. I'm trying to picture you running around trying to hit that ball.
I know I'm a big boy, man, but I can do it,
I'm
man.
just joking with you, man. I mean,
What I'm saying is my whole point is we have to get exposed to more things. We can't be letting our kids raise themselves. That's the real issue. You have to be parenting. You got to be focused and actively parenting at all times. It's not like your job when the weekend come you off. You're never off as a parent, ever. You can take breathers when they with their grandparents or when they with that good uncle and that good aunt. You can take a breather then. But other than that, you're parenting. You go to sleep parenting, you wake up parenting. And that's the decision you make when you decide to have a child. And that's everybody involved need to be. Dads need to be just as tired as the moms when it comes to raising the kids. They need to be exhausted from doing the work, not just annoyed, exhausted from doing the work of parenting. And that's what we got to get. We have to start positioning our kids at very early ages because they're not going to be competitive. They're not going to be competitive. These kids nowadays, boy, in these other countries, these kids in other countries, man, they doing stuff that we over here playing video games. They're over there making video games.
Nah, you're right.
yeah, I mean, yeah, he ain't saying nothing wrong. I'm agreeing with
We
him,
have
but
got to prepare our children better.
What else you got, bro?
for me,
Yeah, go ahead.
What else you got?
I mean, basically, we just one comment. It's like, because we kind of touched on that. So how we taught our youth, basically, is no concern. I mean, how we taught our youth, is no consequences to some of the actions they do. Because I mean, like I said, we talking about, when I say that, it's like, some kids get away with murder. Some kids in a young, they keep, like, the mom don't discipline them, and we talking about discipline. How some kids keep doing something, and they don't get punished, and then when they really get in trouble and they get ready to go to jail, and they 14 and courts take them as an adult, they in there crying, hollering mama, but mama can't come in there and get you out. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you letting your kid get away at a young age and not disciplining them by not, punishing them or whooping them or showing. Because see, whooping, and at one time I felt like we used to get abused because we used to get whooped. You know what I'm saying? And I can look at it now. Whoopings saved my life, because I can only imagine if I didn't get whooped, I'd probably be a predator. I'd be tearing down streets because I feel like it's no consequences, because ain't nobody showed me that I couldn't do what I'm doing. Ain't nobody stopped me at a young age for not going out here taking what I want, going in here robbing, shooting nobody. I ain't went to jail yet. I'm still in the street doing wild stuff because it ain't no con. My mom didn't beat me like she should have. My mom didn't put me on, do the things or send me somewhere to get some counseling or help. I'm just a menace to society. But there's a lot of kids is now, I'm watching that, getting disciplined. And I just feel like some kids feel like they can get away with murder until they get ready to get locked up. Then they see how real it is. It ain't real in them till they're into a real court system that they can't get behind out these bars.
Well, let me just say this too. I agree with that. I also agree with this statement I'm about to make. Some kids are being disciplined, but they're not sure why they're getting disciplined. Kids are being disciplined by their parents, beat, called names, talked about, whatever, and the parent doesn't take the time to say why that's happening. A lot of times it's, boy, what you doing? Bop upside the head. Go sit down in the corner.
I agree.
What I'm saying? They're getting snatched up, slapped around, thrown around, and the parents aren't taking time out to say, this is why I did this. You can't behave that way. You can't do this. You can't do certain things. You can't act this way. That conversation is not being had. So some kids aren't being disciplined at all, and some are being disciplined without knowing why they're being disciplined. So I think all that needs to be addressed. Go ahead, Raymond.
No, I agree with you. You got to, anytime if I raise my hand to whoop, I always at the end of that, I've always said, look, you did this, and this is why I did that. Because you have to give them some form of reason as to why. I know, and I know as parents, sometimes like just go back like Big say, it gets frustrating, and you want to just be like, hey, God dog it, come across just wow, just because they did it and they frustrated. But you have to have some form of sit down to where they got to know what they did was wrong, and the corrective action that you had to take in order to get them in line to where they need to go. It has to be that. It can't be just doing it and then going about your way. Go in your room, whatever. They got to learn so that it's a pattern that they develop that say, okay, well, hey, if I got to do this to my kids, then I got to whoop their ass. But I'm gonna tell them, hey, look, I whoop your ass because of this.
Well, the thing is, when you parenting, you know what they did, and they know that you know what you did. That was before any spanking was happening. We had it wasn't no full conversation. They know what they did. I know what they did because I was parenting. You know what I'm saying? When you engage, they know. This is the thing.
Think about not to cut you off, but think about it like this. Like, okay, well, it depends on the age level.
But it depends on the parent too, because like you said, some parents just frustrated, and it could be anything. A kid could make a mistake and drop something. I ain't spanking my kids for breaking a glass. If it drop, they drop. Hell, I could break a glass. You know what I'm saying? I could drop a plate and break a plate. Right. But you got some parents that'll beat their kids for stuff like that.
Mm.
No, what you do is you make them clean it up. Say, look, you broke it. You clean it up. I'm gonna show you how to clean it up the right way. And that's another thing in our community. What frustrates me is when people tell their kids to do stuff that they ain't never done before. How the hell are they supposed to do it if they ain't never done it before? How can, as a parent, you are a trainer. That's part of your job too. So when you tell them to go clean the bathroom up, but you ain't never showing them how you want it. Go wash them dishes, but you ain't never demonstrated that what's important to you when cleaning these dishes. Because if you don't have the trained eyes, you're gonna look at it and think stuff clean, even though you still got food particles and stuff like that. Like my kids, I tell them go clean the kitchen, right? I go behind them. And I'll look at the kitchen. I said, come here. I'll take their hand and run it over the counter. I said, what's that? What's that? I feel something. If you feel something, it ain't clean. See, you got to stick your head down there and look. If you still got little driplets and stuff on everything's supposed to be clean. It's supposed to be like, my kitchen's supposed to be clean enough so that somebody can come in here and start. People shouldn't have to walk in the kitchen and clean.
Yeah, you a good parent, man. I ain't grow up like that. I went in there and washed them dishes. I got a switch, rewash them. I went in there again and washed them. I got another switch, whooping, rewash them. See, it wasn't no, I had to wash all of them pans till I realized, hey, do it right the first time. You ain't got to worry about it the second time. Mine was always, my grandma installed me, whatever you do, do it right the first time. You ain't gonna never have no problem. And she made, your lesson, wipe the counter. No, it was a whipping. Now rewash them. Now when you making sure ain't nothing, you had a jank that had corrosion out there. You got that shining like they brand new out of the store. You scrubbing because you don't want them on.
But see, I don't feel like this is me. Now I'm old school, and I know that some of that stuff won't right from the old school. So I took my own version. I don't think it's fair to spank somebody for something they just didn't know. I don't see that. I can't.
I'm gonna say, hold on. I want to say one more thing.
Go ahead, say Big Mama.
I'm gonna say one more thing. It ain't about Big Mama, but I'm listening to Big, and I'm also thinking. I mean, he right, but I'm thinking about myself as a young man. I was real immature. no matter how much discipline, I want to have a good time. And Derek will tell you, I was an instigator, and I always wanted to make a scenario that I could laugh at. And it was always, even in school, even if I played like I ain't had nothing to do with it, I'm watching some chaos happen around me, and I'm laughing. I'm a laugher. I just enjoy just tripping off. Life to me was just a trip, just to make funny, because I looked at TV and I wanted to be funny like TV, so I could sit back and just laugh at reality, funny. So it's like I was real immature, and it took me to get older to get mature, and everybody developed different. And I ain't gonna say when my grandmama taught me to be responsible, I was responsible, but outside, even with her, I was always trying to have a good time. I didn't want to clean up. I had to, because I couldn't turn on the TV to watch cartoons. Before I got up to watch cartoons every Saturday morning, I better clean that bathroom and vacuum them floors and then turn the TV on. So you don't know what you can't particulate what a child discipline is. One child can get one spanking, he good. Another child got to get his foot stuck, a shoe, walking around with a shoe stuck up the whole week to realize, oh, this is my discipline and this is what's going to help me through life. Because everybody's discipline ain't the same. What might help your kids, you can go to another kid that got some problems or high DH level or what up in them. They got to get, knocked out every night just to wake up one day and say, I'm tired of getting knocked out. I'm cutting this foolishness alone.
Well, you know what?
Everybody's discipline is different, man.
But that's
and when they took away some real good whoopings, they let a lot of kids do what they want. So some people could just get a spanking and get embarrassed one time, and that they'll shape up. Some people got to get embarrassed over and over and over. It's just like some bullies. They had to get my ass whipped.
No, that's real, because you got some kids, man, they can't go to bed without an ass whooping. Straight up.
Got to end the night with one.
Well, see, I guess touching on the something because they need repeated. If you're not providing some type of reward as well as discipline, then it's no sense of why do right if I'm not getting nothing except whoopings all the time.
That's valid.
You know what I mean?
That's valid.
Because I know that, because I've got whoopings and then just gone, and then it's like, okay, wait, you get nothing. You don't get, hey, look, okay, well, you did right, so hey, you get this. You know what I'm saying? You did right, you get that. It's if you don't provide some type of incentive or reward for doing good. It don't have to be everything, but just if you say, okay, well, hey, good job. Even just tell them, hey, look, good job, you did good. I appreciate you doing this. Some encouragement, or go with it.
The reward in Chris' situation was he was able to go outside and play, so he was rewarded. So I hear what you're saying, but we do things for our children all the time, and when they don't do what they're supposed to, the punishment comes. Whether it's in the form of beating, whether it's in the form of taking something away from them. So the reward is you get to do what you want to do within a certain realm. So that's the reward.
But check this out. What Raymond's saying, what Raymond was just saying is some parents, and I see this, their child still screw up and do wrong, and the child still get rewarded.
That's the problem.
That's the reverse. That's the reverse.
That's the problem. And
you're right.
They want to come fight the teacher. And that's where the problem lies. That's not parenting. And that just goes back, and maybe we have to establish some type of parental guidance situation, because some people, you're not born to know what to do. Everybody didn't have good role models in parenting. Some people think it's normal just to hit your kid and tell them go sit down just because they sitting on the floor and you told them sit in the chair. No, you look over and say, didn't I tell you to get in that chair? And at that point, it's their chair. It ain't because they on the floor, you go jump on them because they on the floor. You have to, have that conversation of correction and give them a choice. You want to get popped, you want to get on this chair, just give them a look. Look, parents don't, look, when you're raising your kids right, when you're parenting them, it's all these unspoken things that happen that discipline and keep your kids in line. You ain't got to be spanking them all the time. You can say things, you can look, you might do something they might know. If you tap your hand a couple times or something, they know. It's all these things that can happen, but there has to be order, and the chief has to provide discipline and provide rewards, like Raymond said, because one thing kids love, and I know I always love going to the movies like that. I still love movies to this day. Can't go to the movies now because COVID took the movies away, in the theaters anyway. But that's one thing that I love to do. I love to go to the movies. And to be able to have a reward, since my parents always put mom always put a money value on grades. You know what I'm saying? So A's was worth a certain amount, B's worth a certain amount. You even got something for a C. You get enough for, you got a small amount.
He good. Flipping was for bad grades. That's all we got. Our ass whooping. And see, I'm gonna tell you something else. Just like now, and I'm traumatized by this. And Derek probably don't do it either. I cut grass, but I hate grass. I never got reward. My dad forced us to cut the grass 3 times a week because he had the fertilizer 2 to 3 times a week and big yard. Derek, did we ever get paid for the services?
No, we didn't. But that's some. If I came around, Chris got goats.
What I'm saying,
we ain't trying to.
Yeah, I would.
We ain't trying to hash out no grudges.
I would. But what I'm saying is, for us cutting the grass, all we got was some food. I didn't get reward. When Derek won, I didn't get reward.
But hold on.
What I'm saying, Big was talking about reward. I never got rewarded. I picked butter beans. I tilted the yard. I cut the grass. I held the satellite. I did all this. Never got rewarded.
But see, hold on. You got to stay in the house. You got fed. You got clothes.
That's the reward.
Hold on.
But you talking that other stuff. So it just made you.
No. What I'm saying is, when I say a reward based, I ain't talking about for everything you do. You can't do that.
Right. I didn't even get allowance, man.
As a family member,
I didn't even get
things you required to do.
I did this and didn't even get allowance, man.
People had kids so their farm could flourish. That's why they had children. So they had people to work the farm. That was part of what the family needed. So, I mean, when I stayed at home, I didn't get paid for cutting no grass either. I didn't get paid for washing no cars. My sisters ain't get paid for cleaning the house.
I didn't get allowance.
Some kids got allowance. That was a way of teaching them that you get rewarded for working. You see what I'm saying?
It won't based on my performance of me doing chores. I mean, if I didn't do my chores, I might not. But I always did it. Like taking the trash out. It ain't no monetary value on it. If your parents, it's nice for them to be able to have something to give you, but it's not, you do this, I'm gonna pay you. Hell no, you live here. You live here.
I didn't. They had it, and they still ain't give it.
So like I go to school, white boys got allowance, man. My mom and dad give me allowance. Where your allowance? I'm looking at them like, what allowance?
I didn't even know what allowance was until I got older.
Well, I asked my question. I went back and asked that question.
All I know is,
I got the same conversation Ben just gave me. Your allowance, you got to.
Can I get $1 to go to the candy lady?
You got it. That's allowance I heard. So
that's all you get.
Kids around me in school talking about allowance. I go and I say I do these chores and I don't get no allowance. You don't need no allowance. I do this for you.
Well, I mean, that's a part of the system.
You know what? And see, but for us eating, he will feed you like a king. You can eat, we can eat T-bone steaks, go here. For us eating, you're gonna eat like you want. Now, that will make you go out here and want to do stuff to get what you wanted. Not saying we were poor, because we won't. We won't on no projects. But it would make you go out here and do the things you want because you didn't want to keep
some money
in your
in your kids' hands.
Well, I mean, we weren't poor. I will say that, but it felt like we were sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just based off of going to school with kids that had like the Jordans and had all the stuff. Bro, literally living with my grandmother, man, I think I got 3 pair of shoes a year. I got some at the beginning of the school year. I got a pair for Christmas and I got a pair for the summertime.
Man, I ain't gonna lie, Dad did buy us the first pair of Jordans when they were like $50-some.
Yeah, when they were, yeah. I mean,
he bought me and Dirk a pair. Yeah, that was the only pair of Jordans we ever got. Well, I got the first and the last.
I'm just gonna say what Big said. It was a lot of us in the house, and I'm gonna leave it at that. So.
So Raymond had to wear the leftovers.
Dad gave each one of y'all $5 or $10, man, shoot. There's no way to work that out, bro. That's a whole that was probably more than his car payment. That might have been more than the mortgage.
Shit, $10, $1 a piece. That was easy. 10 kids, $1, huh? Here's $1, here's $1, here's $1. Don't spend it all in one place. Here's $1.
But I do believe there got to be a part of the structure because that does happen, especially with young men.
Yeah, but
young men want to, even when they're young, when you want to go to the mall, you want to go with a girl, you might want to buy the girl a hot dog or something. You know what I'm saying? You might want to do that. If you ain't got no money, man, you know.
Yeah, you got to.
Then you start thinking the other way. You see cats around getting money. You're like, man, how you get that money? And they show you, next thing you know, you in the street. And it could have been easily solved. So I'm gonna tell you, Chris, that's a valid point. There's some parents out here creating some of these monsters in the street by not sharing their money.
I put it like this. I wasn't working, and one of the girls asked me to go to prom, and I had to get everything. You think my dad and them were gonna help me? And I was still like, I didn't even go to the prom because I couldn't afford to go to the prom. I couldn't get nothing because I didn't have the money. They had it, but either I'm gonna have to get out here and sell it legally and get it. But I mean, it was just certain things were valuable for them. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't like we couldn't, but it's some things.
Though, man, for me, that's tough.
And just like, okay, saying Ishana, we made sure they had everything to go to the prom. We made sure.
Right.
Some parents get their kids and they want their kids to have that. I didn't experience that because I didn't have that resources unless I went out and did something bad to get the money to do that.
And some parents don't even
that's why I said, man, my experience, everybody's household and experience is different. And it, like I said, we weren't poor. Now, if I want to eat, I eat like a king. But some things wasn't important to everybody. The only thing was important, nigga, graduate. Get that diploma, get a job. That's it.
Yeah, that's but that's a part of, it. I just feel it's important because otherwise you put people out here, when you go make your first money, you ain't gonna know how to treat it. Because you got to train kids on what they do with their money as well. Part of the process is the reason you giving them money is not because they did some work around the house, because that's required for being a family member. But part of the reason you get them money is to teach them how to manage their money. That's why we got so many money problems in the Black community, because when the first money we get, we ain't never had none. So we act like straight fools for so many years and then realize that we don't know what we doing. And that's how we lose all this time of creating good retirement plans and all of that and investing, because my kids even invest now. My kids invest. Like, that's supposed to be part of the conversation when your kid's coming up small. You're supposed to have those conversations with them. They supposed to understand, they may not understand the intricacies, because there's certain things I don't understand the intricacies of, but they need to know that money, you need to also put your money to work like you put your body to work. You know what I'm saying? And you can't teach that to somebody that's just getting, when they first get their first job and they making $10 an hour, and they come home and they got a check after taxes out, they got, let's just say $600. Man, they rich. They rich until they start understanding what $600 costs, because most people, they go buy a car, they don't understand that with buying a car, you got to pay insurance. With buying a car, you got to pay personal property tax. With buying a car, you got to keep the maintenance up. You know what I'm saying? Like all these things that is part of parenting. You got to teach your kids before they start driving how to pump gas and how to check oil. And that's where we dropping the ball, man. It's too many things that just don't know how to do. We got grown men that don't know how to change a damn tire. Don't know how to start a lawnmower. They'll look at it like, where the button? Fool, pull that cord. Hold this bar and pull that cord. It ain't start. You see that it's a lever back there. You gotta adjust it. It's a choke, and then it's a start, and then it's you can speed it up.
That's what he said. about technology. Everything at a tap of a button. So people, these kids think, okay, all you have to do is tap your way to wherever, and that's cool, man.
And I hate to
So,
say it, but you got boys riding around with cars acting like girls. I expect, even though I showed my daughter, I expect the girl not to know how to check the oil. I expect the girl not to know not.
But see, that's exactly what we're saying is like being in a position to teach somebody to do something.
You're right. That
Even
might have been a
though they
moment I
don't
should have
know how
taught
to
one.
do it.
But I was like, no, he's too old not to know, so he gonna learn today.
It don't matter.
Like Kevin Hart, you gonna learn today.
As long as you older than that person, you have the ability to teach them to do something.
But you know what's so funny? Because I didn't go out there. That tire got changed. Look, that tire got changed.
But I'm just saying, like, I would have just handled it differently. Now I gave him the business too, but I would have shown him how to do it because, the way the cars, they just set up a little different with a jack point, the way that those jacks made. I mean, you got to put the stuff in the right spot. He could have tried to jack the car up on the gas tank. Now you got to, you know what I'm saying? Now you got a real problem.
Well, I mean, because these jacks, well, I don't want to get too much into that. But
right,
the basic thing is you gonna teach somebody
right,
to do something. That's it, man.
The thing about it is what people don't realize when they're parenting, they supposed to be parenting to the point where to the fact that this gonna be somebody husband, this gonna be somebody wife one day. This gonna be somebody husband, this gonna be somebody wife. That's how you got to parent your children.
And as far as people that you meet out in the street, you are, you have to look at yourself as an instructor, as somebody who's willing to pour into somebody something. Because it's like you can't just look and just say, okay, well, boom, just let them figure it out. Sometimes it's,
it's true.
It takes somebody to say, okay,
human interaction.
Yeah, just to say, hey, look, this is how you do it. Do it this way. And then like, oh damn, but shoot, I ain't see it that way. I'm just anyway, because I see the instructions. I can't figure it out. You know what I mean? Because maybe it's just something that some people aren't inclined in certain things, and some people are. So you gotta be mindful of that too.
But you know what? That manual is a powerful thing. I wouldn't let my daughter drive her car till she read her manual.
I mean, like I said, now what I was gonna say that is at least they need to know how to check the oil. If they ain't got to freaking change the oil, but they got to know how to check it. So because you don't want them driving around the oil that got there going below the got there going low point, and they like, oh, well, it's cool to drive. Engine burn out and stuff like that because they don't know how to simply check the oil.
That's the number one thing that happens with a lot of young people. Their engines go bad because they don't have oil in their car. Something so simple.
Yeah, just put it.
I asked my daughter, I said, how would you like to walk around with no blood? You ain't gonna last long. You ain't gonna last long. The oil in the engine is the oil, is the blood in that car.
I guess if you want to,
that's what it is, bro.
I mean, I know if you want to put it in those strict terms, I guess so. But I mean, it's just simply, hey,
take dead. You ain't got no blood. The car gonna go dead.
Right.
But ain't got no oil. I made her learn every one of those lights on the dashboard, right? And guess what happened? Shortly after I got the car, she might have had the car 3 months. Car started overheating. She knew what to do not to damage her engine. She said, Dad, the car overheating, the gauge going up. The light came on. I said, what you do? She said, I pulled over, I cut it off. I said, where you at? Told me where she was, went there. We took it in and got it straight. But it's stuff like that. This is what damages the young and inexperienced. They spend money on these cars. And to them, $3,000-$4,000 may be a lot of money. Then they don't understand that you got a $3,000 or $4,000 car, which means it's probably going to leak oil and it's probably going to leak some other stuff. So you got to be paying attention to what the fluid levels are. from your transmission fluid, your engine oil, your coolant. You got to pay attention to all of that. So with her knowing these gauges, because people don't realize why the hell you think them gauges in your car on your dashboard. There is nothing on a car that don't need to be there. There's nothing extra on a car. And I ain't talking about the accessories or the options. I'm talking about for whatever the work, all that stuff is there. All of those gauges are there for a reason. So you need to understand what they are. The problem is they don't know what the gauges are. They mean nothing to them. All they worry about is how fast I'm going. And halftime they ain't worried about that. So that's the main issue. That's why people, and it costs them so much money because they be tearing their cars up, burning the engine out because they don't have coolant or they don't have oil. Simple things in place.
All right, so we touched on some topics about building up the community by us being each other's keeper. That's male or female. To be able to, all of us to come together as a community and look out for one another, because that's what the Black community needs. We need to really look and be willing to help each other, because this is we're a part of a ecosystem of everybody trying to build each other and grow together. You know what I mean? We might not be doing the same things, but we all doing the same thing, and that's coming up together. So with that said, all I can say is one thing. In my man's own words.
You gotta let him do it, man. You gotta let him do it. You gotta let him do it. He here, man.
Hey, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Get established.
This has been another Get Established show. Today's topic: are we accountable for each other? Teach one to reach one. Are you my brother's keeper? We've done it again. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. It's been enjoyable for us. We hope you got some lessons out of it, and we can all share in the progress of our community. So with that being said, thank you for being with us, and come back and see us again. This has been the Get Established Show. Peace.
He wanted me to close the show, but Big's right. I ain't want to take the shine away, bro.
Yeah, you gotta man. That's the trademark now, man. You gotta he in the house. He gotta do it. You gotta do it. Good show, fellas. Good job, Chris, coming up with the topic, man.
Even though you had that in the kitty, all right.
He had it in the kitty.
All right, Randy, before we get off, you gotta, do the thing when you do the round robin or something. Sign who do the next show.
I got a card here. If somebody guessed the right suit, then they the one that do the show.
Diamond.
All right.
Love.
None of y'all got it right.
There's Raymond. Gotta do the show. Boom. There it was.
There it
Spade. Son said it was gonna be that spade.
Well, Raymond, you doing the next show?
Yeah, you got the show, Raymond. See?
It's
That was.
It's that simple.
That was simple. You got the show. Next show.